Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions by Beenox. Before the turn of the century, comic books had a real hard time finding a foothold in any other medium. There were some marginally successful games that had come to pass, and there were a slew of movies that really couldn't nail the formula just right. In the year 2000, the first real comic book movie released. X-Men had everything that fans wanted and was powerful enough to deliver to people who weren't invested in the canon as well. While Marvel first pioneered the successful movie front, DC would, 9 years later, dominate the PC and home console market by releasing Batman: Arkham Asylum. Feeling the need to catch up, Marvel lined up their most popular superhero for an amazing rebirth as well, by teaming him up with 3 other web-slingers in Shattered Dimensions. But will this be the chance for Spider-Man to finally get the credit he deserves? The premise of Shattered Dimensions has been done before, but it's also a good way to bring characters from different universes together. You'd never be able to see the noir version of Spidey in the same world as Spider-Man 2099. Not unless someone introduces an artifact called the Tablet of Order and Chaos, which, when broken, begins causing strife within each of the Spider-Man dimensions, which also includes the amazing and ultimate realities. The 4 identities of Spider-Man must fight against a multitude of popular villains to obtain the stone fragments and try to piece the tablet back together. The story is narrated in part by the heroes and in part by Madam Web, who acts as a guide along the journey. A good deal of the familiar comic humor finds its way into the game as well, to good effect. To follow in Batman's footsteps as a very successful game, Shattered Dimensions had to perfect the gameplay, a challenge that grows when you consider the different abilities of the variety of Spider-Man. The main body of the game stays the same. As Spider-Man, you use your skills to beat your enemies into submission, swinging from one point to another and ultimately meeting with a supervillain who needs to be relieved of a piece of the tablet. The differences become manifest when you look at each individual hero. The Amazing Spider-Man seems pretty bare bones compared to the others, not that it's a bad thing. He basically sets the grounds for learning the controls. The Noir Spider-Man requires a little more stealth and finesse to take down his enemies, and is a lot like the sneaky implementation of Batman in Arkham Asylum. In 2099, Spider-Man has access to accelerated vision, which makes everything else slow down, kind of like the Matrix. Finally, the Ultimate Dimension features Spider-Man donning the black suit that had mixed with the symbiote. With it, he is able to dip into a considerable amount of rage, enhancing his damage and defense. On paper, everything sounds great, and works for each of the characters' specialties just as well. Unfortunately, there are some clunky control issues and a select bunch of glitches that show up from time to time. Luckily, nothing is game-breaking, and for the most part, isn't too much of a hindrance at all. With 4 dimensions comes great responsibility for Beenox's art team. Since all the worlds carry distinct differences, Shattered Dimensions features a variety of different palettes to go along with them, and they all work to stunning effect. In the Amazing Universe, you'll notice that everything presents almost like a comic book. It's fitting that the original version of Spider-Man shows up like that. The Noir world takes place through a sepia filter. Things look duller, but you can tell that the decision was intentional. The Ultimate Spider-Man looks at things through cel-shaded eyes. It's perhaps the most colorful and vibrant-looking dimension in the game. The most realistic, on the other hand, belongs to 2099 Spider-Man. Throughout all the stages, the music remains subtle, except for boss fights or other intense moments. That, together with the sound, falls way short compared to the incredible voice acting of just about every single character within the game. With the exception of Noir Spider-Man, the wall crawlers are absolutely hilarious throughout. Shattered Dimensions has a host of challenges that can be attempted throughout the 4 worlds, with 15 in each level. Most of these are fairly similar. You could be pitted against a collection of minions with a time limit, or you could be requested to find all the hidden objects within a specific stage. At certain points within the game, the completion of these challenges unlocks character-specific abilities or enhancements to the entire group of the superheroes. Besides that though, most everything is the same. You fight through hordes of henchmen to reach the villain at the end of the stage, you rinse, and you repeat. The game does have some extra reasons to keep up the good fight though. You get rewards for beating the levels at each difficulty, including character bios, art, and figurines. While this is by far one of the most impressive Spider-Man games of all time, and also one of the best superhero games of all time, it doesn't quite stand up to the awe-inspiring Arkham Asylum. Still, this is a good step forward, and if Beenox has another go at it, perhaps they can tighten up some of the missteps that they faced this time around. That's Entertainment awards Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions a score of 8.5 out of 10.
This is what real